All right, so this is Con Man Part 3. So in the first two videos, I told you how I've studied with, I spent almost a year studying Dr. Flowers and what he said. Like 6 hours a day, man. I mean, no one has listened to this guy more than me. Probably other than his wife. Now, and I saw right off the bat this guy had a gift as a con man. And I went over what a con man was. I showed you how he fits the bill of a con man. In the last video, he's trying to summarize Romans 8, and he's talking about Romans 8 in this video here, and how he conned you when it came to predestination, saying it's people in the past, how he set you up. He gave you a false document, like a con man will do after he gains your trust. He gives you a false document. And he did that here by twisting Romans 8, not twisting it, flat out lying about it. He said verse 28 was people in the past. He quoted the verse using all past tense verbs when they are present tense verbs. And then he took away the predestination, which he doesn't like, and conned you into free will. So, and then in another part of the video, he says, well, I just think when it gets to verse 29, he switches to people in the past. See, and he does that by conning you, by lying about verse 28. So then let's look at Romans 8:29 and see if it's people in the past, like David, Moses. In other words, not you, not the people in the present. Because it just is so simple to figure out. It's ridiculous. That's why it's easy to see this man's a con man. Because when you read the verse, it's a no-brainer, man. A no-brainer. So now if you go back and look at verse 28 again, and we know that all things work together for good. Work together. These are all present tense. He quoted this verse saying past tense. And if he wasn't trying to quote the verse, he was using all the words in this verse as past tense. So they're all present tense. He works all things present tense for good. He's working presently for good. Those who are loving him, in Greek it's actually loving. It's a present tense verb. Those who are called, present tense, are the called. Now, according to his purpose. And the purpose is to conform to Christ, which is in the next verse. So because, and as I've said before, this sentence right here, 8:30, so it goes to verse 31, 31, right? 30. You see from 29, 30, from 30 going all the way back, the sentence actually starts in verse 16. The Spirit himself bears witness. So this whole thing is one sentence. All this is one sentence. One sentence. Hang on. One sentence. Sorry. One sentence, all of it. It continues. It's connected by conjunctions. This whole thing, all the way down to verse 30. So now, when you get to verse 29, and because hoti, it's conjunction connecting to the previous sentence. Now, because whom he did foreknow, whom, not what, but a whom. So the whom, who's the whom? The whom he foreknow. So the whom's are the ones he foreknow. He also predestined to conform to the image of his Son. So the whom are the ones he foreknow and predestines. It's an aorist tense. Aorist is the Greek word. Aorist is the Greek word ahorizo, or aorist is the Greek word for not bound. It means it doesn't have a time bound. It's whenever it is, according to whatever the context is talking about. So the ones who are conforming or being conformed or to be conformed are the ones foreknown. The whom? That's foreknown and predestined. So that's who they are. Follow me. This is simple. So the whom, the foreknown and the predestined, are the ones conforming to Christ. That's the ones conforming to Christ. And whom he predestined, he called, justified, and glorified. Now watch carefully. So these are all the same people. Right? Now, so where do we find people being conformed to Christ and glorified? Well, it's in the sentence. Go back. It's in the sentence. So we know that if we can find somebody being justified and glorified, those are the ones predestined and foreknown. Right? Let me repeat that. If we can find somebody being glorified and justified in the sentence or anywhere, those are the ones whom he foreknew. One more time. If we can find, because the foreknown are the justified and the glorified, and the zoomorphos, the conforming, zoomorphos, zoom, morphe, shaped, with shaping in Greek, we know that those are the ones, or we know that that's the whom, right? Glorified, justified, conforming, that's the whom. Without question, because it literally says so. Now go back here. I'll pause it. Well, here's one sentence. So the second verse in the sentence, it starts here. The Spirit himself bears witness that we are children of God. Now the we there is very clear, the ones he's writing to. We, Paul, and the people, the Christians in Rome. The Spirit bears witness that we, and if children, we, then heirs of God and joint heirs through Christ, providing that we suffer with him, that we may be also glorified together. See, there's the word glorified. So who are the predestined and the call and the called, right? The ones being glorified. So there's the ones being glorified right there. The children of God and the heirs of God be also glorified together. There they are, right there in the sentence. So now, Mr. Flowers, you can't just say, well, I think it's the people in the past. Because why would Paul just switch and blah, 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 con. There it is, right there. There it is. The ones being glorified are the ones whom he predestined and knew beforehand, right there. It's right there in the sentence, right at the beginning of the sentence, which starts in verse 16. And as he goes on, you see the picture of conforming, zoomorphos, with shaping. The ones God is shaping, because I consider the sufferings present time are not worthy to be compared to the glory which will be revealed in us. Shaping, changing, glory revealed in you, changing, conforming. Because the earnest expectation of the creature waits for a revealing of the sons of God, changing, shaping, conforming to Christ. Because the creature was subjected to vanity, not willingly, but because of him who's subjected in hope, changing, glorifying, sanctifying, right there. Because the creature itself also will be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of God, changing, conforming to Christ. It's the picture of it. That's why the sentence ends with that, because what's prior to it in the same sentence is describing it. We know that the entire creation groans with labors, birth pangs, together until now. I'm not going to explain all this. You could just see the picture of the conforming in the language itself. And not only they, but we also who have the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves groaning within ourselves, eagerly awaiting the adoption, that is the redemption of the body, conforming, changing. because we were saved by hope. But hope that is seen is not hope, because why does one still hope for what he sees? Changing, seeing, hope coming. But if we hope for what we do not see, then we eagerly wait for it with perseverance. Changing, hanging on, conforming to Christ. It's all in the sentence. It's the picture of it. Likewise, the Spirit also helps in our weakness. Likewise, the Spirit also helps in our weakness. Changing us, lifting us up, conforming to Christ. Because we do not know what we ought to pray for, but the Spirit himself makes intercession with us with groanings which cannot be uttered. Conforming to Christ. Now he that searches the heart knows what the mind of the Spirit is, because he makes intercessions for the saints. Saints is hagios, means set apart, the ones set apart. The ones predestined. According to the will of God. And then, of course, the big kicker of them all that just went by the con man's head. Verse 28. Again, it's present tense. We already went over it. Knowing all things working together, present tense. For good to those who are loving God, present tense. To those who are the called. The ones that are the called, present tense. The ones that are the called. The people who are called. Called. Now where do you see this word, called? Right here. Whom he predestined, these he also called. The same people who are the called the called, present tense. They're the same ones he predestined. These whom he called. The people that are called, the called now are called, were called. It's this. How can you miss that? Whom he called. Like whom he called. Who's that? Right here. Those who are the called. The same ones he glorified and justified. So the whom are the called. The whom are the ones he predestined. The whom are the ones he foreknew. Who's the whom right here? These people. And all the people, and the same people in the sentence that he's been talking about. The children of God. The children of God. The children of God. The people who are the children of God. The children of God. We, the children of God. The ones being glorified. 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 The whom? The children of God. The glorified. The called. I mean, it's just so all over the place, man. So there. So how do you know who these he foreknew are? Because the sentence tells you. The sentence tells you. The beginning of the sentence tells you, which this is of the end. So the con man goes to the end, and then he says, well, I think it's, people of back then. Because, wow, that's past tense. Dumb. Absolutely dumb. Absolutely stupid. It's right there in front of your face, Mr. Con Man. It's right there in front of your face, all of that. That's who God foreknew. These people he's talking about, us, God's children, and I don't think you're one of them. That's who it is. It's plainly and painfully obviously that's who it is. So don't let some con man come in and sell you free will and take away your predestination. Don't let some modern day Kenneth Copeland come in and con you.